Well, welcome to the March Getting to Know Your Indiana Neighbor. And this Indiana neighbor, most of you in the area know, and I know Curt. I can't say I know him quite well. Curt was a year ahead of me in school, so I know him a little bit from school. I know him largely from the Martin County Community Foundation. He's the director of. We'll speak to that a little bit later on. I know him from church a little bit, but in between all of that, let's just get to know Curt Johnson a little bit more as our Getting to Know Your Indiana Neighbor. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks so much.
All right, well, Curt, let's just start as we often do from the beginning. And I know, like I said, I know I went to school with you, but I don't know, did you go from first grade on up through the Lagodi schools, or did you move here?
No, goodness. Yeah, we moved here in '74, start of my freshman year.
Oh, okay, I thought so. And where'd you move from?
And right from there was Richmond, Indiana.
Okay.
So we had some history before that.
And where were you born?
Indianapolis.
Indianapolis.
Yeah, 1960.
All right.
Yeah.
So how did you migrate to Richmond, Indiana? What between?
Okay, so my dad, and he worked at Lilly for a while as a chemist. Yeah, so that was a couple years.
You say he was a chemist?
A chemist, yeah.
Good job.
He's a sharp man.
Sharp guy.
Still is.
Yeah.
But so eventually, for one reason or another, he got a job at Crane as a research chemist.
Okay.
So we moved down south, and that move, like I say, was probably in '62 to Bicknell, Indiana. And we lived there till '69, probably, when I was in third grade. But interesting enough, he got the call to be a minister. So, Methodist minister.
Your dad did, okay.
Yeah, so he still is. He does weddings and things.
That's right.
But so we moved, let's see, that was in '69. So we got the calling. So he entered the ministry, and then we moved up to a little place called Carthage, Indiana.
Carthage?
East of Indianapolis.
Okay.
Yeah, you know where Greenfield is?
I do, yeah.
It's just south of there a little bit, or east or west, I can't. But anyway, small town, 800-900 people, not very big.
Yeah, okay.
So I had a church there for a few years, and then he decided.
So he left Lilly.
Yeah.
And became a minister.
Went to Crane first.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had 4 kids. He had 4 kids at the time when he decided to enter the ministry.
Okay.
Left a real good job at Crane, obviously, research chemist and all, and took 4 kids and his wife on the measly salary of a minister. Yeah. So it was a challenge. It was a challenge. Yeah. There was times, I tell a story. You didn't know where food was coming for the next meal. I mean, there's just 4 kids in the ministry.
You literally did not.
Did not.
Right.
Yeah. So
your mother didn't work outside.
No, she didn't. She was at home mom. But so. But it was wonderful because people would come by and give you groceries, food from the garden, and they took care of you. It was pretty awesome. So.
Well, somehow ministers are taken care of.
They are. They really are. I learned that too.
But let's back up a little bit. So he went from Lilly to Crane. Mm-hmm. Why Crane? I mean, had you ever even? Of course, you were very young. Yeah. But had he heard of Lagodi, Indiana, and prior to that?
I really don't know what moved him down there. Tell you the truth.
Where did you live when he worked at Crane?
At Bicknell.
You lived in Bicknell. He drove to Crane. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I have to ask, why Bicknell?
I don't know. I never have asked that question. I didn't do that. But it had to be knowledge. Somebody knew to get him down there. I'm sure. I'm sure. I don't know if he just wanted to do more than what he's doing at Lilly, and opportunities came up at Crane. Dad's always been one to look at the opportunities, take them when he can. Yeah.
How long did he work at Lilly? Do you know approximately?
It was probably just a few years, not very long. Like I say, I was 2 when we left, and he graduated from Butler, I think. Mm-hmm. But so it was probably just a few years, and not very long.
Okay. So he became a minister. Did he retire from the ministry?
No.
More explorations.
More story there.
Okay.
So from that little place in Carthage, that's when we went over to Richmond, and there he preached out in the factories and whatnot.
Tell me more.
Well, again, the calling kind of thing.
Yeah, but in the factories.
In the factory, yeah. Up at Richmond, there were several factories. So they worked 7 days a week.
Right.
And a lot of guys just didn't have the opportunity to go to church, so he'd go there and do a service for them on Sundays or whatever.
So he'd actually go to the factory. Mm-hmm. And people would get
go to where they work, go out into the world kind of thing, I guess.
I worked for Kimball for 25 years, and I never heard of that.
Yeah, well, I know. I hadn't either, but but I lasted. I think we were there for a couple of years.
And that was a paid ministry that he would go to the factories.
Right. There's
preach?
I think they call it Richmond Industrial Ministries.
Okay.
RIM. I remember that.
Well,
RIM.
that's terrific. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any idea if they still have anything like that?
I had no idea. Yeah. yeah. No, that was an interesting time too, because that's just my junior high years. But Dad had this outreach heart, so there was transients come through the bigger city. I call them transients, but we had people stay in our house all the time. We had one gal, we called her Hitchhiker Jane. She was from Oregon, 16 years old. Can you believe? On the road.
No.
So we brought her in for a couple months, and other people, but.
Wow. Can you imagine doing that today? And I know people probably do. I know St. Vincent de Paul obviously is kind of if you're going to have those transients help people out, but for somebody, even a minister, to put people up like that today just doesn't happen.
That'd be scary. Yeah. But he did. It was interesting. We had, I remember George, hippie type, played his guitar and things like that.
And you guys are never scared as kids when these people would come in?
Because mom and dad weren't, so they kind of taught us the giving heart and, accept people. And it was fun, had all kinds in there. And during that time we went to a Quaker church of all things.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, which was an interesting experience. I mean, a lot of quiet time in a Quaker church.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, they just sit there and reflect, I guess, is the idea.
Now, as a young person, did you actually sit there and reflect, or did you sit there and more daydream than anything else?
I tried to reflect.
Yeah,
they were had high expectations of how we behaved in services. So so you just sit there and I'm not too sure how much I really reflected, but
But you tried.
Yeah.
So what else about your dad? I mean, obviously, I never knew your dad. What's his name?
Dwayne,
yeah, that's right. Okay.
Dwayne Merrill.
Yeah, he's still with us, right?
Mm-hmm. So the little history there is my grandpa's middle name was Merrill. So Dad's is Merrill, firstborn son. I'm Dad's firstborn son, middle name Merrill. I did so with Ryan, he's my firstborn.
All right.
And then he named his firstborn middle name Merrill.
Well, he better.
So we got like 5 generations. Yeah, better not stop now.
Better not stop now, yeah.
So it's kind of,
even if you have one girl, it's got to be Meryl.
Yeah,
something
that's
Meryl, like Meryl Streep, something like that.
But he's always been an opportunity kind of guy. Opportunities come along, so he
So I asked you if he retired from the ministry, and you said, "Oh no." What's next for your dad?
Well, he is retired though.
He's retired now.
Yeah, he left Crane we came back to Lagodi in '74 after Richmond, like I said, but he went back to work at Crane.
So that's what brought you back to Lagodi?
Right. Okay. So that Richmond Industrial Ministries, I don't know if that was a grant or what, but I guess the funding kind of dried up. So he came back to Crane.
So eventually retired from Crane?
Quit Crane.
Quit Crane, left.
Yeah,
okay.
Opportunities arose.
Yep. Things come up. Okay.
So, I think he actually quit Crane. There was in the pyrotechnical world, that's where he worked at Crane, did a lot of things like that. He's got patents and things like that. He's just a sharp man. But there's an opportunity came down in Florida for him to manage the whole plant or just the chemical part of it. I can't remember his manufacturing plant down in Keaton Beach, Florida, Perry, Florida, kind of the corner of the Panhandle, kind of. So he went down there and lived for several years. But so he
this had an opportunity. This was after you were out of high school and college. You were out of the house.
I think they moved in '87 probably, because I know we actually moved into their house after that. So,
they've been down there ever since?
No, opportunities, man.
You go right ahead.
It was.
We'll get to know Curt pretty soon, but it's fascinating getting to know Dwayne.
Yeah, so they were down in Keaton Beach, and let's see, I think they were expanding, again, opportunities, I think, but they ended up going to New Mexico, and that was probably early 90s, I'm thinking. Again, manage a plant kind of thing in the pyrochemical world.
Okay.
So, and he's out there for several years. They really loved it out there. Had the open wilderness kind of thing, and the Indians were out there. So he had a good time with that. Yeah.
So your mom, we haven't even mentioned your mom yet. Obviously, probably the cornerstone of any family, right?
Yeah.
What's your mom's name?
Phyllis.
Phyllis,
yeah.
And they're in Florida now?
No.
Where are they?
There's more movement there. No, actually, they went back to Florida, in Pensacola, after New Mexico. And I really forget what he did there, to be honest. That's a shame. You kind of lose track after a while.
After a few opportunities,
But he did end up retiring, and then his mom bless her heart, she was, I think, 99 at the time when he left Pensacola. But, you know, she's gone on in age, and, you know, time was going to come.
Yeah.
So he decided to move back to Indiana,
Okay.
and then he did retire. And I think she actually made it to her 100th birthday, I believe.
Did she?
Never took a lick of medicine in her life.
Wow.
And she, you know, boy, very hardy individual.
Yeah,
so
but she would have lived to 120.
Yeah,
right?
well.
Probably not.
But no, so he came back to be with her,
Yeah.
you know, be close to her. So they moved to Shelbyville, Indiana, just kind of southeast of Indianapolis.
Oh, I know.
And they're still there now. So
okay.
yeah, that's been, gosh, probably 8 years ago, I imagine. Something
So
like that.
almost full circle from the geographical.
Just really, it is, isn't it? Though?
Yeah, Shelbyville's very close to Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So anything else your dad before we move on to your mom?
No, not really. I mean, it's that, you know, you learn things
Yeah.
from a man like that. Just, you know,
Yeah.
perseverance, and, you know, just, like I say, always a giving heart. You know, and we learned that. Mom was a big part of that too.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, she was the one home with us most of the time.
Yeah. Did your mom work outside the home at all?
No, well, little things here and there probably until we, I think, finally got back into Lagodi in '74. But she was pretty much a stay-at-home mom. You know, helped guide us, and as we were growing up, things come up, and she'd encourage us, or, you know, give us the words of wisdom, whatever that you pick up and learn. So,
How old would they be now?
see, Dad would be 88,
Okay.
and Mom's 83.
So they're pretty good health?
Yeah, reasonably, you know. Age sneaks up on people,
Sure.
you know. But,
Yeah, no.
Yeah, Mom's, she's having some hard times, just trying to figure out things, you know. But,
Aren't we all?
yeah.
Yep. And, you know, Curt Johnson's had some major health issues as of late that we'll get into later on, and that's a part of his story for sure.
Yeah.
But, so I remember, Curt, you in high school a little bit. You were a runner. You were in track, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you were what we called back then, I don't know if they do today, but a harrier, right? That was a track person.
I guess so, yeah. Okay.
But you were pretty fast.
Yeah, I was, actually, as it turns out. Yeah, I did pretty well.
Can you imagine?
Yes, believe it or not. Not now.
Not today?
Not today.
No. Okay.
But
Right.
yeah, it was interesting. When I came back from Richmond, one of my friends there, you know, said, "You know what?" He says, "You got a chance to start over." And I kind of thought about that a little bit, and I didn't really start over. But, you know, the way you present yourself, you know, because I was.
Reinvent yourself, basically.
Yeah, essentially, you have an opportunity to do some things. So, but I was raised. You may find a picture somewhere buried, but I had glasses, buck teeth, cowlick like nobody's business, and a nerd. You know, just pretty much a nerd.
Yeah.
So, you know, that comes with its own challenges. You know, but like Mom talked about how she's a backbone of things. But, you know, she always told me when I was growing up, because I looked like that for years. But, you know, those nerdy glasses with the black and the white underneath.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, so kids would tease me. And nowadays, they call it bullying. And it probably was. But, you know, back then, you just kind of dealt with it and buck it up and go with it. But Mom always said, you know, you just got to love them for who they are, you know, and just take it at that, you know.
So when you moved, because I don't remember that about you, but when you moved to Indiana and a chance to reinvent yourself, was that a part of it? You tried to shed that nerd image, or did you bring that with you?
I tried to shed that.
Okay.
You know,
So-
and it's
So new
not an
people, they've
overnight-
never seen me before, so
It's
let's get to know Curt Johnson today, right?
Really.
That's what it was?
excuse me, but yeah, so, you know, there's an opportunity. And up at Richmond, you know, they had wrestling. So I was a scrawny little kid at the time. So, you know, I wrestled and did some track, tried different things, and found I did have a knack for running.
Yeah.
So, I ran the quarter mile. My dad ran the quarter mile.
Did he?
So that's kind of my inspiration to run the
Okay.
quarter mile. And I just couldn't handle long distance anyway, so that worked out well. But yeah, I think when I graduated, I had the third fastest time in Lagodi for the quarter mile. So I did well.
You know, actually, I was up at the gym last weekend, as I always am. It was during the sectional.
Yeah.
And I know your picture used to be up there in the trophy case. And I thought maybe it still is. I didn't see it.
I
Do you
haven't
know?
seen it lately. I think
You know, there were a couple of older ones there as far as pictures back to our days, but I didn't get a chance to look real close. But that's how good he was. I mean, that picture, And if I can picture it right, I mean, it's a great picture of you running. And it stood the test of time for many, many years, but maybe they put it away.
That picture you saw was, that race I remember in particular, because I was on the mile relay, quarter mile each leg, and I was the anchor. But those three guys had a rough day, I guess. And I don't know who we were running at the time, but the time I got the baton, I swear they were 100 yards ahead of me. I mean, they were around the first turn.
Yeah.
And so I just took off, and my coach, Mr. Sims, Charlie Sims, he looked at me and said, "Curt, you don't have to catch them." I was aging him to go. So I rounded that first turn, and there's a photographer there. And so I just kind of smiled. What turned out looked like I was gritting hard,
So you actually saw the photographer?
Yeah. Okay. So I just smiled for him. It turned out it looked like I was straining, But I did end up catching them around the end. That was the old cinder track back in the day.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, boy.
If you fell,
it
hurt.
I got cinders in my leg yet from the time I did.
Did you? The people I felt sorry for were the ones who jumped the hurdles.
Oh my gosh.
And if you missed the hurdles, you might go face first.
Yeah. I did those too.
You did?
Yeah, I did those. I tried high hurdles, but those weren't very. That problem came about. Yeah. That's tough. But
We'll get back to high school in a moment, but siblings. I know you've got a few. I know one of them's in my class, Krista, or was in my class, obviously, but Krista's down in Florida.
Right, Pensacola. Yeah.
And you've got two other brothers?
Very good.
Okay.
Yeah, two. Yeah.
David and Keith.
David and Keith.
You know how I know that?
Yeah.
Bob Toy.
Really? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I asked Bob Toy a question, and he answered. Yep, Krista, David, and Keith.
Yeah. When
I remember them. Yeah.
We moved to town. So we had a couple of houses, but eventually we landed up. Bob Toy was just down the road from us, north side of town. Or actually, he was on the highway there.
Yeah.
So him and Dave Waniger, Mike Arvin. I remember. There was a bunch of us around.
You were the North Siders. We were the South Siders. I remember that very well. Yeah.
So, but where's that question?
Where's David and Keith?
Oh, Dave. Okay, yeah. So David, like I say, he's 3 years younger than me. So Dave's up at Indianapolis. He's actually staying with mom and dad, helps them out, and he works at Honda, I think it is.
Okay.
Nice job there. So so he's actually he was in Pensacola for a while too. So
which is where Krista is.
Right, where Krista is. So finally, once mom and dad went down there, they all kind of transitioned. And Keith was well, I think, for a while. But Keith was in the Navy and truck driver. He's quite a storyteller too. But Keith's the youngest. He's 8 years younger than I am. So, but
well, that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. Yeah.
So back to high school. Who'd you run around with in high school?
Started out a fellow named Steve Kreitzer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then Wayne Stuffle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Those are.
We live in Wayne's house.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I saw that. That was interesting.
Yeah, if you ran around with Wayne, you've probably been to his house before, and I had too, not knowing that 50 years later,
you never know, dude.
We would end up in that house.
Yeah. See, Mike Norris was another guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was the first few years, and then end up running around with Carl Arvin quite a bit, and Bill Green.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now kind of married, brother-in-law by marriage.
Yeah.
And then
that kind of.
Yeah. Paul Arvin. Yeah.
Yep. Paul Arvin. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the kind of group we ended up.
It's quite a group.
Yeah. It was fun.
Did you like school?
It's. I don't know if many kids really love high school.
Yeah.
But but it was okay. I was. School came easy. So.
Pretty good student then.
Yeah. I ended up being salutatorian.
Okay.
So, but
that's not bad.
That's not bad at the time, But things came easy.
Who's valedictorian? Do you remember?
I think Scott Arvin.
Scott Arvin.
I don't know where I don't know if he's still around or not anymore.
Okay.
Scott Arvin, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think he was a valedictorian at the time. Yeah. Larry Hember was a president.
Yeah.
But
Teachers that influenced you, any that you can think of?
Probably Mr. Sims did quite a bit, I think, as much as anybody. I'm trying to think. Back in the day, you're a kid, teachers are teachers. I never really developed a lot of close relationships. But Mr. Sims I did just because of the track and around him all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
What about after high school?
Okay. Well, I went to Purdue.
Yeah.
A year and a half at Purdue. And then I tell people I got smart and went to IU.
Yeah.
Say that with tongue in cheek, but so I went to Purdue. I was, like any seemed like, what are you going to do after college? I don't know. I like math. I don't like math. So I'm just going to be a math teacher. So you just kind of go with it. But so I went to Purdue for a year and a half, and then Actually, I graduated in 78. In the summer of 79, gosh, I'm going to get in trouble for this. I think that's when I met Julie. I'm pretty sure.
Is that right, Julie?
Yeah, really. Help me out. Yeah, it was run around with the guys. There was some canoe trip in the summer, and they were a short one. It was on Saturday morning, I believe. So after we were partying the night before, so they come drug me out of bed and said, somebody crapped out on us, so we need somebody to come to fill a canoe. And turns out that canoe was with Julie.
Okay.
So and they lived in New Palestine at the time, had grandparents in town, so they'd always come down visit. So I kind of knew her.
Yeah. Do you know, not to interrupt you, but did you know that Julie and Dee went to school at New Palestine with my wife's cousin?
No, I didn't. Really?
Yeah. And I know Lynn's had conversations with Dee. I'm not sure about Julie. But they did. So it's a small world.
That is small.
We're close to them and visit.
It's amazing.
Still in New Palestine, actually, and she does very well. But yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt you, but
so that
connection.
That's interesting. So that canoe trip didn't bide very well for us at the time. It was we'd tumped the canoe once, and she didn't like that too well, and I did it. It happened again, and she just gave me the dirtiest look. And
you didn't do it on purpose, did you?
I can't remember because I was smiling awful hard.
Yeah.
So I don't remember. But so it didn't go well. But we ended up syncing up over the summer and developed a relationship. And she was going in her senior year at that time.
At Lagodi?
At New Palestine.
Oh, she graduated from Palestine.
Yeah, she actually graduated. So like I say, they were down visiting a lot with their grandparents.
Okay.
Rod, her dad had a boat, so they bring it down, boat at bogs and things like that. So, but yeah, so it was that fall of her senior year. Probably, I figured we were dating 4 or 5 months, and I proposed to her.
Well, I like to ask about those proposals. Yeah. Anything unique?
Well, yes, I was a college kid at the time, so I didn't have a whole lot of money.
Right.
So,
well,
it was
same boat.
Yeah, cheap engagement ring,
yeah.
which I want to get something better.
Service merchandise was mine.
Yeah. Bingo.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Although when I did Bob and Penny Toy, Penny pointed that out, that it was a service merchandise ring.
Ours was too.
For her as well, which was really above us, right? I mean, we had to do something, but
it was hard.
Yeah.
I want to get a better ring, which we did. I made her trade that old one in, which didn't get much out of it. Now I kind of wish we'd have kept it just for the nostalgia of it. But so when I proposed, it was at her house in New Palestine, and Rod and Sue were just super great because we'd like while I was in school, I had a motorcycle, a little Honda 350. That's my only transportation.
Okay.
So I'd ride from Lafayette down to their place, and they let me stay the weekend with them.
Okay.
So they were just wonderful people about that. And if I was them right now and I had a girl, some college kid came down on a motorcycle to stay dude, you're out of here,
Yeah.
So, you think about that, girls are senior and some guys.
Yeah, but they seem to have a sense about things like that.
They did.
I mean, they
did.
If they felt like it wasn't the right thing, I'm sure you'd have heard about it.
Oh, yeah. But when I engaged, though, one night, we were in the living room, everybody else gone to bed, I proposed. Of course, she said yes. But the next day, they know this story, but Sue, her mom, she's a sweetheart. But the next day, we were sitting on the couch, and she came by and sat on the corner of the couch beside me. And she said, "Now, Curt, we really like you, but this is too early." So,
really?
Yeah. So she had to give the ring back.
Oh my gosh! No kidding.
She was 17 at the time.
Oh,
so,
okay. All right.
So I said, okay, and they said,
So you didn't ask her parents ahead of time? You didn't ask her parents ahead of time?
No, I was independent. A college guy went. Yeah, I should have. It turns out I should have.
Sounds like yeah.
Yeah. So they said wait till after she graduated.
So your thought at that time, whenever they had that conversation with you, because I mean, this is the one, right? You were ready.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
That what now?
When they had that conversation with you that, Curt, this is too early.
Yeah. Well, and I knew early on she was the one, so so we just stuck it out, and I understood at the time, even I was kind of hurt, but you understand,
right?
So, of course, I didn't wait till she graduated. I did at her prom. She got it back, so hedged a little bit.
Okay.
But Yeah, so they like telling the story. I said I had that motorcycle, and that was my only transportation, and rarely did I miss a weekend.
And you proposed to her actually before she graduated high school?
Yeah, the fall of her senior year.
Yeah, Kurt, I would have said no too.
Yeah, that's
No,
why I said, if I was a parent.
Well, and you are, and if that would have happened to you, I'm sure you would have had a nice conversation.
Oh, yeah. They were very gracious about it.
But how long after? You didn't wait very long though?
No, at prom. At
Okay.
prom, I gave it back to her. So.
Okay, prom during her
Senior year.
So she still hadn't graduated?
No, I could push the envelope on that a little bit, but yeah, the motorcycle story though was like middle of winter. I'd drive that motorcycle.
Yeah.
And one time Lafayette, Dave Zero, if you remember the Zeros or not, he was up there, but he's in the Air Force ROTC, so they had this winter gear they'd have, sub-zero kind of stuff. So hat, gloves and the full-on gear. So I put that on one winter and drove it down one winter night and drove it down there and. Every time I stopped, I had to stop breathing because the helmet would fog up and whatnot. But I got there, and there were icicles on my motorcycle, because it's just so.
That's love, Julie.
Yeah,
that's
love, dear.
Yeah.
But Rod, I said, hey man, can I park my motorcycle in your garage, so it can thaw out. And, he still tells that story. He says, I knew then. This guy was
because
serious.
So. I thought you were going to say, no, you take that bike and turn right around Lafayette.
Probably should have. But,
Wow.
So
okay.
yeah,
so that's interesting.
So we were.
And you would have been how old?
19.
So you were young too.
Oh yeah.
So what were your parents' thoughts on this?
They kind of rolled with it. I think Mom, she went with me to pick out the engagement ring. So they were they were rolling with it pretty well. And I say after my freshman year, they liked us to be independent. They taught us independence and be your own people. So. After my freshman year, Dad was helping me out with school a little bit. I told him, hey, Dad, I'll take care of my college, which I'm kicking myself for doing that. But,
Independent.
Yeah, independent.
He taught you to be independent.
Yeah. So, and so with that in mind, the independent side, they understood. I think they knew it was kind of young, but I think they saw what was going on.
So you got married when?
In 82. 82. So she was, after she graduated, went to dental school. And
she did?
Yeah, well, as an dental assistant.
Oh, okay. Well, it's still. Okay.
Dental assistant, dental assistant. So I was a year of school maybe. So we got married in 82. I was still in college.
Where'd you get married?
New Palestine.
New Palestine. We got married in Shelbyville. We got married in Shelbyville.
Did you?
Yeah, my wife is from the area up there.
Okay.
And we did. So you said your parents live in Shelbyville. Well, I'm pretty familiar with Shelbyville.
Things come around, yeah.
It does.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. All right, so now you're married
at
a young age, still going to school.
Yeah.
How are you supporting?
Supporting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing was in 1980, I got a job at Crane as a co-op student, which unbeknownst to me at the time, that meant you were hired full time.
Oh, okay.
So, and I just thought it was like a school intern thing. But and I think because of Dad's influence at Crane, they hired me. I believe he had something to do with that. They knew who Dad was, smart, intelligent, so they hired me. That was, I think, part of the decision. Obviously, there's more qualifications, so started working in the data processing department there in '80. So I was a year and a half into college at Purdue. Started working at Crane. Knew I was going to get married. I said the logistics of this just aren't going to work between Crane and Purdue. What are we going to do? So that's when I transferred to IU. So because then, when we got married in '82, Julie had a job in Southport, Greenwood area, as a dental assistant. So we lived in Martinsville for a few years.
And you drove to Crane?
And I drove to Crane, went to IU. She drove north to Greenwood for her job. So we did that for a few years. Started out with a little one-room apartment above a garage at the local little airport. We lived there for about a year, and then found a better place in Martinsville there for another year or so.
Yeah. So eventually, though, you moved to Lagodi, right? Where'd you move to first?
Where what now is the Community Corrections, Community Corrections office on First Street. Used to be, they had a daycare there. Doc Poirier's office used to be there.
Yeah, you mean right behind the highway.
Yeah.
Well,
so
again,
we lived across the street from that, though.
Okay, well, to bring it back to me again, we lived right up at the hill there. on Washington Street. But where did you live? Right across the street?
There's a little bitty house, and it's still there. You can see it from the highway there. It's back. It's the first house actually across the street there.
Okay.
Behind McDonald's, you can kind of see it from McDonald's.
Okay, and that's where you lived after you got married and moved back here.
Yeah,
Okay, didn't know that.
82, yeah, right? So, yeah, it was like one of those cheap things you could find. And,
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's a small house. It did well. We lived there. We moved there in 84. Like I say, we moved in Mom and Dad's house at 87.
So you started at Crane when full-time?
Right after I graduated. So,
And you retired from Crane?
Mm-hmm.
When did you retire?
In 2015.
2015?
Almost 9 years ago now.
So a few years. How many is that you worked at Crane?
35.
35 years?
Yeah, 35.
What'd you do at Crane?
Mostly information technology world.
Yeah.
Back then, it was data processing. But, started working there as computers were obviously, not like they were now.
Right.
There was a mainframe. You had the terminal direct wired in the computer.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was a math stat kind of guy at Crane when I got out. One interesting thing, Rod, when I was dating Julie, he knew I was going to be a math teacher, right? So the parent in him kicked in. He said, "You don't really want to be a math teacher. You ought to go into computers."
So your father-in-law?
Yeah, my father-in-law said this. So, I kind of started taking some computer classes when I was in college, and I thought, I was still math major, take some computer classes, and I liked that enough. I thought, I just get a double major. So, dumb me thought there's a class they had, a math class, where you could take both that class and it counted both toward the computer science major and a math major. I lasted 2 weeks in that class. It was hard.
More than I would have.
So I ended up with a math stat degree. But so that's what I started at Crane with, and that was in the data processing department at the time, because you run the computer programs and do your statistics and analysis. But I involved into other things, but stayed in the IT world most all the time. Say through the years, about halfway, 2/3 way in my career, became management in that same kind of field, different spots at Crane. But Crane's wonderful like that. You can start somewhere if your interests change, but opportunities are always coming up for different jobs. So, and I look back, I think I didn't stay in any one job more than 3 to 5 years. But as those opportunities, like Dad, those opportunities come up, and you look at them, you grow, and
but yours was the same place of employment,
right? So
it's just like you said, climb that ladder.
Yeah, different departments, things like that up there. So it's different types of jobs. So it's a wonderful place to work if you're wanting to do different things.
No, so when you moved back to Lagodi, did Julie work?
No, actually, she's a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
And we made that decision early on. Okay, before we have kids, we had that talk. Do we want you to go to work, and we get babysitters for the kids, or do we want to have a stay-at-home mom? And we decided that family was important enough then that we went the stay-at-home mom kind of route. That was a joint decision. So,
do you have anything in particular that stands out that, as a young parents, that man, I can't believe we did that, because parents do what they have to do, right? But when you're young like that, and a single income, which Crane, I understand, not bad, I'm sure, but still a single income, you had to sacrifice a lot of things. Anything stands out that, particularly when you were very young, with that first child, that stands out, that's just, you look back today and how did we do that?
Man. You look back, you're just so busy.
Yeah.
And other kids come along, and just.
But you don't remember struggling so much that.
No, it was hard.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. But you can kind of get creative with finances as best you can. You try to budget, and but still things come along, and it was hard. And even now, friends of ours go do a lot of traveling. I know you do. Bless your heart. So, but we don't. I didn't ever have an opportunity to save a lot of money or do those kinds of things now. So you look back and say, man, but that was a choice we made. That was a good choice. I'm glad we did it.
Yeah.
So and we still, like, my youngest son Darren lives in San Francisco, so we go visit him every 2-3 years, or try to make a trip to Florida and the beach.
Well, that's a pretty good trip.
Yeah, that's not a bad trip, but it's not as often as we'd like.
Right.
And other places we'd love to go, but we just can't, so we don't, and that's fine.
Our story relates again back to a family of yours, and it's Dee Green. And maybe you've heard, because I've said this on here before, but one of those things that when you're young parents, you just do what you have to do. And I'm only telling this because it does involve his sister-in-law. Is I worked at Kimball, my wife worked at Kimball, we had a 1-year-old child, and I worked night shift. My wife went in at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so at 1 o'clock in the morning, we didn't really know Donna Green, but a little bit. But she babysat, and
Okay.
Lynn would take her, my daughter Perry, 1 o'clock in the morning to Dee's house, walk up the stairs, place our child in this person's crib or whatever it was, and go to work.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and then I would pick her up. I don't know, I guess it would have been after I slept a little bit, so 11 o'clock or so. But we look back at that. That's one of those things that you just do what you got to do, right? And we trust him.
Yeah.
If we lived in Fort Wayne, which we did prior to that, we wouldn't have done something like that. But
Yeah.
here in Lagodi,
Yeah.
you trust people,
Yeah.
and obviously we thank her so much, and she's become a lifelong friend. But that's, again, part of your family,
Yeah.
and we had to do what we had to do.
Yeah, yes. Julie's grandparents were down here, like I said earlier. They had to come down and visit,
Yeah.
so they were always available when the kids were young to babysit or things like that. And with Crane early on, I was on the road a lot.
Traveled a lot for work.
Yeah. Early on, I did. There's a project. Barcodes, right? You see them everywhere. Now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So our group, our team, what we did was barcode all the ordnance in the Navy and Marine Corps across the roar.
Yeah. Ordnance being the
bombs,
the bomb,
and bullets, and anything goes boom.
right.
So,
That we still hear.
Yeah. So we wrote the little scanner programs and the inventory management systems that go with all that. And
See, that would have been like, if I scan this, it's not going to go off, is it?
no,
I've been worried about
it. Was fun. It was fun. Like I say, there's a lot of detail. But I didn't go as many places as I probably could have around the world. We had people that did and saw a lot of things. So but that was kind of my claim to fame in the Navy world. Was we actually barcoded the ordnance, and it's one of those technology things. We had the Y2K issue. And I happened to be a manager of that. I had gone up to management.
Yeah.
Man, that was, and of course, our system, like everybody else, was only counted for those 2 digits. So when you went from 99 to 00, was it 1900 or was it?
What's going to happen?
And sorts, when you go sort by year, it's just, it just.
Yeah.
So there was admirals calling the captain at Crane at the time saying, is this system taken care of? So I was in the captain's office weekly giving him a status of everything.
Yeah. But even you, during Y2K, which for the younger folks is going from the 1900s, 1999 into 2000. What's going to happen with all of this?
Everybody thought the whole system across the country was just going to break down.
I just remember having meetings after meetings because we were in electronics as well.
Yeah.
And as it turned out, things worked out.
Yeah, people, I think.
But you didn't know, what was going to happen that next day. January.
People rose. We had to change our whole system, essentially, databases and everything. So people rose to the occasion.
A lot of work just because of a year that changed.
Yeah. Who would have guessed?
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
So Crane, you retired from Crane, but you had children while you were at Crane. Tell me a little bit about them.
Okay, so Ryan, the oldest, was born in '84.
Pretty good golfer, right?
That's Kevin.
Oh, Ryan's not
Ryan
good?
golfs too. He's pretty good.
Oh, Kevin's the golf pro?
Kevin's the golfer.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and Kevin, like I said, was born in '86. Yeah, let's see, he graduated high school the middle of the year, December, his senior year.
Yeah.
So I'm not too sure they let you do that anymore, but he actually took off and went to Florida.
Yeah.
And stayed with my sister for a little while down there. And then later he stayed down there and went to school at, I think it was Orlando area, for professional career golfers college or something.
Serious about this?
PGCs. Yeah, so this is a 2-year school, and he actually became a golf pro, as it was. Didn't hit the circuit tour or anything, but he was a golf pro. So he came back and worked at the Pete Dye course down there in French Lick for a number of years.
Wow.
So but he still plays a lot of tournaments around the state and does well. He comes and goes like everybody, but yeah, he's a good golfer. Yeah. So and I like to golf, but he never got his talent from me.
Were you on the golf team?
No.
Did we have a golf team back then?
Yeah, we did. Steve Sargent, remember him?
Oh yes, yes, he was very good. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the guy's name, but a couple golfers. One was in your class, maybe, I think. I wish I could remember.
Who was the golfer in my class? I'm pretty sure you're right, but I'm not going to be able to.
Name's forgetting. Just looking at me, but he's going to hate me for this, but I forget his name. Yeah. But no, I was not a golfer. I didn't have any interest. But I started golfing when I think Kevin took up some interest, so I started golfing and self-taught, which to any of you future golfers, don't teach yourself because you learn bad habits.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So I'm finally, gosh, I started golfing 12, 15 years ago, I don't know, but I'm finally getting out of that bad habit mode and starting to get a little better now. But love it anyways, but yeah.
Not for me.
So that was Kevin, and he was born 86, and Darren, the youngest, was born 89. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So we talk about you retire from Crane. You're not retired for long though, right? Before the foundation. Tell me how that worked. Was there an opening and you applied, or did they come to you and say, hey, I think you'd be good at this, Curt?
Yeah.
The Martin County Community Foundation.
Essentially the latter. Yeah, I retired in April. Yeah, it's funny. I was just getting in the mode of, I'd get up in the morning, 8 or 9, loved it, And
Retirement.
Yeah, retirement. Get it. I'd go in town to the post office and the bank or do whatever. I was getting where I'd spend 2 hours in the morning in town just putting around.
Yeah, yeah.
Hit the McDonald's with the old guys.
The perfect retirement days.
Man, it was great. And then come home and do whatever. So it was awesome. But I did that for a couple of months, and then got this call from Dan Gregory, and Beth Lett was the president at the time of the board. But they called and wanted to know if I'd be interested in the community foundation.
You don't say no to Dan Gregory and Beth Lett, right? I mean,
man,
but what they've done for the community.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. And at the time I didn't really. They said talk about the community foundation. I said, okay, I'm interested because I actually at the time had never heard of the community foundation. Never. Which I took that to heart when I started working with them. But I went in and talked to them. It was a couple months afterwards. Yeah, it was April. Yeah, actually, that's probably about right because I started working in June of that same year. But we talked for a while, and it was an hour into it anyway. And then Dan said something about director. I said, wait a minute. I thought we were talking about just being on the board, a board member. But so they said no. We want you to be the director. And talked about that. I said, okay. So thought about it and decided, that's probably a good thing. My dad called it a God thing at the time. But a position was open, had opened up, and Dan was actually interim for a while before that. So, and he was actually the first director at the foundation. Dan Gregory was.
Dan is, yes.
Yeah, 2000, 2001, something like that, I think he started. But anyways, then Jason Jones came in and the position opened up, and so they asked me. So yeah, and there I've been.
How long?
Just be 9 years this June.
Yeah. So is it a full-time? Do you work full-time?
Part-time.
Part-time.
Part-time. Some people.
That was probably pretty important to you whenever they came to you and said, hey.
Yeah.
Although I know how part-time jobs go, and yours in particular becomes full-time.
Can be. Yeah. When I retired from Crane, I was looking for a job initially with a contractor like everybody does. But one of my things when I retired, I said, I do not want to work full-time again. I'm leaving retirement for a reason. So of course you go with the contractors, and they're interested in talking because I have the experience. As soon as I said part-time or nothing, well, I got nothing. so they weren't interested in part, So this is wonderful. And like I say, people don't realize I'm part-time because it's pretty flexible hours. It's 3 days a week, 24 hours. Try to make it a couple full days a week, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, whatever. Then, the other hours are through the week or evenings. Things come up like photo ops we've been doing lately,
Well, not only that, but putting together the emails, that you do, because I'm a newly appointed board member, so I'm very pleased.
And thank you again for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. But there's so much time putting in other things, right? Those emails, and in those emails, there's the minutes, there's all these things that you do as well.
Yeah.
But what year did you start with the foundation?
That'd been in 2015.
2015. Because it's interesting, you said when you talked to Dan Gregory that you never really heard of it, Well, I remember, I think we even had the conversation with you that I heard of the foundation, but help me understand what it is. And boy, I mean, what a blessing the foundation has been for this community. I mean, I'm sure even whenever you first started, you had no idea what would become of the Martin County Community Foundation and the positive impact it would have on our community.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, like I said, one thing when I started, because I didn't know anything about the foundation, obviously, then I figured other people don't know anything about it. So one of my impetus for that early years was get the word out, make people aware, and was Facebook. I put out electronic emails weekly, you know, about articles. Started doing columns in the newspapers, Tribune at the time as well, just to raise awareness. So, and you know, I think that's helped a lot of things. It's interesting. The first year of grants that we did, I think we only gave away in grants was $30,000 or something. You know, then scholarships and everything that we granted out to all our endowments, we might have had, I doubt it was even $100,000 total at the time, because we were pretty small. But this isn't a plug for the foundation, but you know, what they say within community foundations, it's interesting that, and Dan told me this, and I've heard it other places, but it takes 20 or 30 years for a community foundation to grow, because you start talking to people about giving and wills and bequests, you know, just a little bit of percentage or whatever amounts, whatever it is. But you know, we've grown. I say in 2015, we were about 15 years old at the time, the foundation was. And now we're at our 25th year this year. It's pretty awesome. Yeah. But during that time, a lot of these people remembered us in their wills and bequests, and a lot of those has come to pass. And it's just amazing. So, you know, last year, counting the scholarships and grants, everything from the endowments, we gave away right at $950,000 back into Martin County, little old Martin County. Yeah. You know, just let's say the gifts and donors have just been awesome, and that's how we can do that. You know, next year I don't know if we'll hit $1 million mark, but the following year I'm not sure we will. But $1 million back into little old Martin County.
That's amazing.
It's just amazing.
It is amazing, and I've been on the board since just the beginning of the year, so a month or 2 months or what have you, and I've been in a couple of photographs where they gave away $82,000 to the Methodist Church in Lagodi and Shoals, and that was from the crop estate. Is that correct? Yeah. So was that a situation of his family willed to the foundation specifically for those churches, and I'm sure a bunch of other things.
Right, and several other things. But George and Barbara Crop is part of their bequest, and you know, they didn't have any family, no kids, so. But yeah, so
there I am in the photographs giving away that money, and that's what I always talk to Curt is, you know, I always see these photographs. Where's the money come from? Well, things like that, but many other places.
Oh yes, there's donors across the board. So again, I think it's a lot of
and
awareness.
Growing interest throughout the youth.
Yeah, people see things happening, and that makes a difference.
Because this is money invested, right?
Right. We have a very conservative approach with the markets. That's what we tell our investors, financial advisors, that we want to take a very conservative approach because it's not our money. Well, it is our money. People donate, and we manage it. But you know, we have a responsibility to be frugal with the monies, make sure it grows over time, and that's the idea. These things never go away. So when we say giving forever, we mean it. These things are forever.
So that's our commercial for the Martin County Community Foundation.
It's important, though. You're
but
right.
it is important, and we're hoping that you'll look into it if you're wondering what it is, and you're wondering how can all this money be. Well, talk to Curt or somebody at the foundation, and they'll let you
be a part of it. It's awesome.
But between the time that you retire, and help me if the timeline's not right, and you're today the foundation job, you have some health issues, right? That have I mean, goodness, right? Tell me a little bit about what's going on the last few years.
Man.
Because you look great, and I don't know if you feel great, but I know you're still working.
You're looking at my belly,
No. You know,
I feel good. But it is. My history of health has been something else. That people don't know about pretty much. But again, mom and dad, what they taught us, perseverance. You know, God providing when we were growing up with the food on the table. You know, choices dad made to move. You know, a lot of those I think were inspired. And mom, by the way, speak of mom, she did become a nurse.
Oh,
she was
well,
an RN. So she was an RN. That's after we got to Lagodi.
I'm glad you said that, because that's pretty important.
Yeah, it is. I know. I wouldn't. But when we moved to Lagodi, you know, we were all older. I was a freshman, and the youngest boy, Keith, was 8 years younger than me, so whatever that was. But so she had the opportunity to go back to become a nurse. So she did. And that's kind of key, because when Julie and I lived on First Street there, up by you, or your house, we had Ryan was born in '84, So it was about that time that, and this all has the medical history, but I started, like my feet started hurting. You know, for some reason, I thought, well, stand too much of crane, waiting on those printouts or something,
So
you know.
40 years ago. 40 years ago.
Right at, yeah. Okay. So, and then my hair started falling out, got rashes on my face, and then one morning Mom picked me up to go to work, because she worked at Crane then as a nurse. But she said, you just don't look good. So she took me into the clinic, and my blood pressure was like sky high, you know. So we went to I think I ended up going to the emergency room right after that. But, you know, so they started looking, and like I said, I'd gone for a couple of years actually, going to different rheumatologists, and somebody look at my hair and things like that.
This is in your 20s, right?
Yeah. So turns out, after a lot of doctor's visits, finally went to one that said, you know, this is a classic case of systemic lupus.
Of what again? Systemic lupus?
Systemic lupus. Okay. So part of the reason that my blood pressure shot so high, because I had kidney disease. So
did you know that?
No, I had no idea at the time. So it's like, wow, you know, and that was like you said, 84. So he told us about it and kind of what to expect. He said, now, this is a kicker. He said, they didn't have internet at the time. But he said, don't read the pamphlets that are out there, because they say you only have 5 years to live.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we had a kid.
And you read the pamphlets?
Yeah, we did. But he said, don't pay attention to them. So we said, okay. So it was interesting. Me and Julie had a hard talk. You know, I say, do we have kids? Do we have some more kids or not?
Well, this time you did not have any.
Yeah, so we thought about it long and hard. And again, back to God will provide, God will take care of you. So we did decide to keep having kids. Okay. So you're welcome, Kevin and Darren.
Turned out pretty good.
Really.
Yeah.
So we did, you know, and I was on, they actually put me on prednisone and steroids. I was on those for like 6 years. I mean, you know. And
with all the side effects and everything?
Yeah, well, the biggest thing was you eat like a horse.
Oh, okay.
You know, and water retention. But no, really, I didn't have any other side effects. You know, the kidneys, again, the prednisone helped with that. I had a little scarring that was just no big deal. But so I dealt with that. And that's actually went in remission. So that's a thing, and I've been checking it every year and every 6 months, different times, you know, going back, make sure it's still in remission. But there's like a small percentage of people have to go in remission.
You mean the lupus?
Yeah, the lupus. So yeah, so I was like, I don't know, 3 to 5% of cases go into remission. So that's very, again, you know, put a lot of that on God, you know, that, so anyway, so that, and then, gosh, medically, I say, 2011, a few years before I retired at Crane, I was in my office, and one of my guys came in, and I was just staring at the wall. So he said, Curt, he finally got my attention, but he asked the day of the month and things like that, and I didn't have a clue. So I had a seizure. And it turns out I had what they call, it's an epileptic thing, complex partial seizures, which there again, doctors didn't know what it was for the longest time. I did all kinds of overnight tests, brain tests. And after a couple of years, this is probably 2013, I was diagnosed with this complex partial seizures. And again, went to the right doctor, hearing everything's like the lupus, classic case. And it's like, how come it's so classic? And it took all this time, you know, that's twice that happened. So I've been on medicine for that since too, and that's okay. So that's some history there, you know, but again, you know, you just kind of deal with it and you go on. You know, it's not that big of a thing most times. So you just keep going on. Medicine took care of it. You know, doctors are wonderful. So I was in 11. So with all that, I think that played some of my retiring in 2015, because I was 55, hit my 35 years, which is kind of standard retirement. Right. Man, I decided and honestly, government was changing, it seemed like. Not like the old days, you know, so all that is pulled together. But so interesting, 2019, like the cancer came in. So
what type of cancer?
It's at first they diagnosed this as what they call a small lymphocytic, or what was that? SLL, a leukemia. Okay. So, or not leukemia, lymphoma actually is what it started out. Okay. So then, wasn't too long after that in 2019, when I was it was starting to grow, They changed it to the chronic lymphocytic leukemia. And really, they're both the same disease, same cancer. It's just where they originate. One originates in the bone marrow, and the other originates in the lymphatic system. So it treats it the same. So that was interesting. The summer of 2019, John Walker and Judy, our neighbors across the road, he had this heart and vascular test at St. Francis, south of Indianapolis, for $75. And I think out of that, they discovered his probably issues. So he was encouraging everybody. So you need to go do this, you need to go do this. So we said for $75, so we went up and did it. Well, they were doing that, and as an incidental finding in the report, they said I had a lymph node enlarged. So they said, you ought to get it checked out. So I did. Went to my internist and met with a nurse practitioner. He looked at it. No, actually, that was later. So they didn't say anything. But anyways, went to my dermatologist. She saw it too. She said, you need to get that checked out. So finally, after a couple times, I said, okay. So went to the internist, nurse practitioner, and he said, nah, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. So I said, okay. And then I went to somebody else. That might have been the dermatologist. I forget the order of things. But anyways, I went to my ear, nose, and throat guy. He looked at it and said, we're doing a biopsy right now.
Really?
Yeah. And Kevin had actually said something too, is on this side. So it turns out it was cancer. And that was in November, just a couple weeks before Thanksgiving in 2019. And then they went in and did surgery. We took the node out and cut it out and things like that, and did some more testing. So it was about January of 2020. Then they came along with the official diagnosis. That was that CLL, SLL kind of thing, lymphoma leukemia. So it's slow growing. So they said, what the deal with this stuff is you just watch and wait. Watch it grow and wait, and then when it gets bad enough, we'll treat it.
Really?
Yeah, so 2020 wasn't too bad. I got a big kick of health, man. So I went exercising, lifting weights, eating right, and 2020 I was in the best shape since I ran track in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, but things change obviously. So, anyway, so we waited through that first year and most of 2020 and into 2021, and it started growing, and it got pretty bad. I mean, I told them for Halloween in 2021, told grandkids I was going to be the Hulk. So neck was big and everything. I mean, it was really getting bad.
Yeah.
So in 2021, the fall, my oncologist finally said this could affect your breathing because it was getting really big. So we decided, he said, we're going to start treatment. So we did that in November 2021 and spent the next year in treatment all through 2022, which wasn't too bad. I mean, the first few months was like every other day kind of thing. And then it went to monthly. And then I had pills. So pills was pretty much the thing through most of that year.
Did it affect your daily life, though? I mean, obviously, going through those sort of treatments, it's got to be difficult some days, right?
Yeah, it was. And, you try to get the treatments toward the end of the week, so you got the weekend to recover. Terry Smith, bless her heart, she kind of gave me that clue. Okay. So we did that. It really, the treatment I had was not the hardcore, what I call hardcore cancer, like put it in, kill one, kill all kind of thing. Mine was more an immunotherapy for the most part. So it's a lot easier on your body. But that pretty much took care of it through 2021 and 2022. So it was and not a lot of impact, like you say. We still carried on. I wasn't sick or anything typically, but
Where are you today in that regard?
In that avenue?
Yeah.
For that, remission pretty much.
Okay.
So that's back on oncology appointment next week. So I got the monthly visits with the oncologist. I still take monthly infusions to help my body because I'm immunosuppressed. So it's so we got to watch that. So I take some infusions every month for that still. But again, just taking time to do it. And I'm blessed with the job I got now because it's flexible enough. I can do that, and I've told others, with the foundation job, the hours are flexible enough that I could go through all those treatments and not affect the job so much. If I was still working part-time or full-time like at Crane, I don't know how people do that. It just amazes me. But I've been blessed. I've been blessed to that point.
So how do you feel today?
pretty good. Well, from that, pretty well.
But
There's been some other things since. You might know. Want me to go ahead?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so let's see. So I ended my treatments in November of 2022. So during that time, they do scans all the time. I was having CT scans monthly. But in the lungs, when they happened to get those, there was pictures, what they call ground glass opacities, just little white spots. So through 2022, I started seeing these things, and even the radiologist started saying there's some of that in there in early 2022. And they kept getting more and more, and like asking something, but oncology didn't really think much about it. And as I look back, I think they figured that was part of the treatments. It's just going to happen, so they never said much. Well, come early 2023, I was having a hard time breathing, got sick. I ended up being in the hospital for a week. And that was actually, I think, a reaction to COVID, not the COVID shot, but another COVID kind of, they gave it to me to help because I couldn't fight COVID so well. So they gave you one of these things. But I ended up in the hospital for a week, and they saw some of those lung issues again. And come 2023, last year, then I was having a really hard time breathing. So went to, I started having fevers, shakes at night. So went to my internist. So we got some more testing, talked about the lungs. So we went he sent me to the pulmonologist in Jasper. He looked at it and said, we're going to send you to, in fact, in the hospital. I went to the hospital again in February. Went there, I think that was a couple times. But the last time they said, we're going to get you a bed at IU Health in Indy, to try to get this resolved. Well, couldn't get there because beds were full. But I went up there a little later and met this pulmonologist up there whose specialty is interstitial lung diseases. So through most of that year, he looked at it and did a scope thing and checked it all out. But it turns out then I had this interstitial lung disease of unknown origin. So it basically swells and scars your lung tissue amongst all the air sacs and everything, that lung tissue between them. So it was growing between the air sac and the blood vessels, where that oxygen exchange is supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So that's why I wasn't breathing so well, because it had that disease throughout there. So anyway, so he started putting me on prednisone. Prednisone's been a part of my life, I think. So I was on that for most of 2023. But there was the cancer was nothing compared to that.
Really?
Oh man, this had me down. I was bless Julie's heart. She was a trooper.
Yeah. But how did you got through it for the most part? I know you're still working it, you're doing cardio treatments and such, right? But but you've got your lupus, your cancer in remission. What about this lung?
Yeah, so I got to tell you that early on, when I was bad, I was pretty much bedridden. And it took me an hour or two to get out of bed, and Julie would bring me my food, my medicine.
We're just talking in the last year.
Yeah, just last year. Yeah. So, and I was telling somebody the other day, it was bad enough. I started working on what I call my exit strategy. I just, it was bad. But, I was ended up being on oxygen 24/7, things like that. But this guy didn't put me on the prednisone. So, got off that, I think in October of last year or thereabouts. Couldn't golf either. That was tough on me as much as anything. Yeah. So it pretty much resolved. He ended up believing that the ILD, the lung disease, was caused from the cancer treatment.
Well.
So
yeah.
And so the oncology folks are right. It's just I think they expected it to go away, and it just kept getting worse. So that pretty much resolved. I got some residual stuff left, but that's doing okay. But in that process, I was still having a hard time breathing at the end of that. So my pulmonologist said, that's not right, you ought to be breathing better than you are. So he said, you ought to go get a stress test. Okay, so I get it. So went and did that, and I just flunked it straight up. It was pretty quick. So after that, we scheduled a heart cath. That was toward the end of the year. Actually, it's probably January. No, it wasn't January this year. That was just I can't even remember when we did that now. But scheduled a heart cath.
I can understand why.
Yeah, I think it was January. But again, that was just after the lung stuff I was off. So we finally got all that scheduled, did a heart cath, and lo and behold, I had a stent put in. So, and then in the process, I get an incidental finding. I have since birth, one of my left arteries, both these left and right arteries, little anatomy, is supposed to go off your aorta and feed your heart. Well, my left artery wasn't where it was supposed to be. It wasn't doing that. Instead, it was coming off my right artery. So my right artery is coming off like it should, then my left artery just kind of hooked into it. So there's concern about that. So we didn't, for a while, I thought I was going to have some heart surgery to fix that. And which would have essentially been a bypass. They did bypass that area. So that's kind of, since birth I've had it, didn't ever bother me. So we dealt with that a little bit. Okay, didn't know, what was going to happen. So when I went up to Indianapolis for another test, we packed our bags. Because Julie, that one time we were at Jasper, said they're going to send me to IU Health. She didn't have bags packed, and so here she was going to have to go up there and nothing ready. So she wasn't going to let that happen again.
But you got good news there, right?
Yeah.
You had your med packs ready to stay for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it took, but?
Yeah, well, we ended up staying just the day.
Yeah.
So the guy looked at the immediate results and said, doesn't look that bad, nothing's crimped or anything, so we don't have to do anything right away. I had a couple more tests, but it turns out it's okay. So again, good blood flow. We just got that test back yesterday. Said there's good blood flow, so we don't have to do anything. So first time in 3 years, I got a summer back. Now I can just start doing some things.
But you can't really do a quarter-mile relay yet. You can't really do a quarter-mile relay again yet, right?
No. Let's see, last couple of years, the boys have been helpful mowing my lawn and, taking the garbage to the recycle center. I mean, there's just things like that I just couldn't do.
So you've got lupus in remission, cancer in remission, and this situation that right now is under control.
Right. Yeah, so the lung thing's under control.
So every time they go into you, they find something
It
different.
seems like, yeah. I'm still in cardiac rehab right now.
Yeah.
Doing that. But so I've got a few more weeks of that.
But again, right now,
everything's good.
things are good.
Yeah, things are looking pretty promising right now. So yeah.
And that's important because you've got grandkids, right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, this story wouldn't be complete without telling me about your grandkids.
No kidding. Thank you. Yeah, Ryan, like I say, he's got the 2 kids. Reed's the oldest boy, and then Mia's the youngest. And Kevin has a girl she's Mackenzie. She's in 5th grade right now. And Reed, his boy, is in, oh gosh, this is going to be terrible, 1st grade.
Okay, close.
Yeah. Reed and Raiden, interesting enough, were born 2 weeks apart.
Really?
Yeah, so they're both.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's
interesting time for grandparents.
Yeah. But it was wonderful because growing up, the boys worked at Crane. It was before COVID, so we'd get the kids, Ryan's kids, or Kevin's kids in particular, get the kids at the school. They'd ride the bus from our house into school. We'd get them back. So developed some really nice relationships with the kids for the first 5 or 6 years of their life. And of course, Ryan and kids, they'd all get together and drop the kids off and play and things. So it was, again, Julie being home helped with that quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, we hope that these health issues stay away to where you're with your grandkids through graduation, through their marriages and such.
Well, I say, but that's just it's such an important part of my life because most of that, even lately, I say a lot of things I've done, but you go into that kind of thing, with my background thing, God will provide, He'll take care of you. What happens, I don't believe in coincidences so much anymore, but things happen, like these incidental findings in my health, okay, go figure that out, but
if they wouldn't have found them, right? I mean, if you didn't have this, they're in there.
Yeah.
But
so you learn a lot through that process, and one thing is, I don't know if your mom or somebody probably said, there's always somebody that's got it worse than you.
Yeah.
You know what? And even at my lowest time, there's people who had it worse than me. So you try to keep a good attitude with things and be positive.
Yeah. And Julie's been that rock with you, right?
Man, I'll tell you what, she's something else. It's funny. We don't do much without each other anymore, which is wonderful. But
It is wonderful.
with all the health stuff, you know, I used to go to my doctor's appointments by myself, checkups, you know, on the lupus and things like that. She didn't want to go, but boy, she's there every time right now. You know, so
It's probably because you didn't tell her everything that you should.
well, maybe she's wondering probably.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So what else in the life didn't we talk about? When you leave and when you watch this, oh, I wish I would have said that. That's going to happen, right? Yeah. But what else? It's kind of your forum, as we do at the end of this, that you haven't talked about that you'd like to reinforce. Anything at all?
Oh, not really. You know, you talk about like what you do with kids, and you know, boy, you're right. When you're young, you look back, how in the world did we do all that? But yeah, I didn't say it earlier. From '90, after Darren was born, the youngest, which he's in San Francisco, and like I said, the other two boys are in town working at Crane. But so in '90, I went to get my MBA. So I don't know if you knew that or not. But
no, I didn't.
That took 6 years. You know, the kids were young. So you look back and say, number one, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Secondly, how did I do that?
What was the answer to that? Why did you do that at the time?
A commitment to improve myself.
Okay.
You know, you just go out and people do that. You know, keep reaching and create your own opportunities as you can. And I thought at Crane that would help me. There wasn't a whole lot of applicability from that to the government, but there's a lot of things you take away. You know,
Absolutely.
You know, just a business sense about things, which I think has helped this job some. Even though coming to the foundation, I thought, oh, okay, I worked at Crane, nonprofit, right? Going to this world as a nonprofit.
Yeah.
No, they're two big different things.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you look back. So that was important. You know, and I think the kids' takeaway was important to them that they see that I was doing that to improve myself, get more education. So both boys, like I say, Kevin went to golf school and, you know, learned some things out there outside of golf. But in Ryan, he's got a master's degree now in cyber technology, cyber security. Yeah. So, and Darren, 4-year degree in graphics design. So that's kind of his forte. He's always been artistic. So I think it's important that kids see from their parents, you know, and we set expectations. So it's funny, like the kids, this may sound cruel, but the boys knew we expected them to go to college or do something with their lives after high school, you know. So they pretty much had the idea that, you know what, kids, and we told them, either you're going to school or you're getting out and getting a job, but you're not staying here. Well, I mean, we'll help them along. I think they knew, but you know, we had expectations, and it just pretty much come through. You know, they grew up with that. So.
And it sounds like a lot of that came from your father.
Yeah, a lot of yeah. So
it's kind of full circle.
Yeah, that upbringing made a big difference. You know, so. But anyways, yeah, it's been a good life. It's been a good life.
Well, let's keep it that way.
Yeah, sir.
Well, Curt,
thank you.
Glad you're healthy as can be for the moment.
Yes.
Stay that way.
Appreciate it.
And thanks for all you do, certainly with the community foundation and everything else. But so glad to get you know, not just a little bit. We got to know you a lot more.
Yeah, there's a lot
than we do.
Yeah.
A lot below that surface of Curt Johnson that I bet you didn't even know. Yeah. And we appreciate it. We thank you for also watching this edition with Curt Johnson, getting to know your Indiana neighbor.
Thank you.